Well, Shabbat Shalom and welcome back once again. It is our privilege to spend the morning with Rabbi Hillel Silverman, who's brought some insights from this week's Torah portion. Hillel, what should we be looking for in Bahalotcha?
It's a very, very interesting Sedra. Vayhi bin Soa Haron, and when the Jewish people took the ark and marched forward with it, Vayanusu mipanecha, and they disappeared, they fled, Vayanusu sonecha, and those that hated God disappeared. These same words, which took place about 3,500 years ago when the children of Israel were in the wilderness, are still recited today on a Sabbath morning, on a holiday morning, when we remove the scroll of the Torah from the ark, the same words. And when the ark went forward, Vayifatsu, Vayvecha, and your enemies fled, Vayinasu sonecha, and those who hated you disappeared. And you wonder, then and now, enemies of God, those who hate God, who are those who hate God? Those who want to destroy the Jewish religion and the teachings of Judaism. The Jew stands for integrity and justice and compassion, and this runs contrary to the inclination and the faith of the idolaters who follow immorality, idolatry, and exploitation. The Torah in the ark stands for righteousness and altruism. And when they remove the Torah from the ark, we are removing the guide of the Jewish people who are truly advocates of civilized humanity. And so the first few verses of this morning's Sedra, what we say when we remove the Torah from the ark. The Jews are in the Midbar. They're in the wilderness. They are hungry. They are facing famine and facing the enemy who wants to destroy them. And their eyes turn back to the good old days when they were in Egypt. And what do they remember? We remember, they said, the fish. We remember the cucumbers. We remember the onions. And we remember the garlic. Is that all they remembered is what you gave them? Is that what gave them happiness? Cucumbers and onions and garlic? You know, the memory plays tricks on you. When you are unhappy, you remember the good old days. When you face hardship, when you face distress, when you face imagined difficulties, then you remember imagined happiness. When you are lonely, when you are in despair, when you face failure, you tend to romanticize the past. You look into past when things are better. You look in the past and remember your childhood, the home in which you were raised, the parents, your family, the school, your friends, business, early activities. And then I'm sure you had the experience of returning to the home of your childhood and you say, my, how everything has changed. Things don't change. We are the ones who change. I know I had that experience and I still remember it after 97 years. I was raised in Hartford, lived in the same home. It was a beautiful home, a large, and I returned to that home and I discovered it wasn't so beautiful. It wasn't so old. It's a home that was built in the late 1890s. I remembered the backyard was so large. We played baseball in the backyard. It was so small, we could hardly throw the ball around. I remember that home of my childhood. We heated the home not with gas or electricity, but with coals. Did you ever have that experience? They would deliver the coals to the home, down into the garage, and that was the way we warmed the home. On the second floor was our bedroom. 5 people lived in a bedroom in 4 different rooms. My mother and father, my 2 brothers, and myself. 5 people, and believe it or not, we shared one bathroom. Can you imagine, for 5 people, 1 bathroom, 1 shower? How we romanticize the good old days. We didn't have a refrigerator. Do you remember that? The days when we had an ice box. What was an ice box? They would deliver a large cake of ice every so often, and we put the ice into the ice box, and then we were able to have our food cooled and frozen. Thomas Wolfe said, "You can't go home again. You can't go home again." In the wilderness, in distress, facing famine, what did they remember? They remembered the garlic. They remembered the cucumbers. They remembered the food of old, of the onions. We tend to romanticize the past. We should learn, of course, from the past. We can learn from the past to make the present and the future more promising. Another episode in our Torah reading this morning was Eldad and Medad, who were two Israelis. Moses was leading the people and prophesying. And when he returned from one of his expeditions, he was told, Eldad and Medad are prophesying. You would think Moses would have been very jealous when he heard the news, but he was not jealous at all. What did he say? Ma yitain kol am Yisrael nevi'im. Would that all the Jewish people would be prophets. He was not jealous. He would encourage all to rejoin the witnesses of the God of Israel. No people in our religion have a monopoly or status. It is not by birth. It is have to be earned by study, by interest. We are not an esoteric religion with mysteries. Rather, we have a religion that teaches us that we must study and we must penetrate and to be able to take over leadership in the synagogue, leadership in the community, leadership in the city by learning and by studying and then by leading. And so a final interesting episode in this morning's Sedra is Miriam, the sister of Moses, the sister of Aaron, slandering the head of the Jewish people. They spoke against them, according to this morning's Sedra. They spoke against Moses' wife, Zipporah, the Cushite. We don't know what Cushite really means. Was it a tribe? Was it a people? Was it a race? We don't know the exact nature of their gossip and slander. But we do know that they belittled their brother Moses. They belittled his reputation. And so Miriam was afflicted with leprosy for her conversation about Moses' wife. Moses recited a prayer, the shortest prayer in the Bible, 5 words. El na refanala. Oh Lord, heal her from her illness. Many people today indulge in slander, gossip, and criticism. Many people today criticize their neighbors, the leaders of their community, the family, associates. Why do people slander? Why do people gossip? I guess it feeds their appetite, or they're envious, or they have nothing else to think about, so they gossip and slander. According to our tradition, the slanderer is the one who is the leper, is a metzora. The leper is one who is afflicted with its loathsome disease. But these words the rabbis tell us stand for Moshi Shem ra. To gossip and to slander causes the disease of leprosy. And what we have with the slanderer and the gossiper is a moral leprosy, which has to be dealt with as chutz lemachaneh. The leper is placed outside of the camp. He is ostracized. He is put into isolation. I think we can adhere to the slogan, there is so much good in the worst of us and so much bad in the best of us that ill behooves any of us to find fault with the rest of us. And so in this morning's Sedra, we have these interesting episodes which can teach us important lessons of life. Amen. Shabbat Shalom.
Well, Shabbat Shalom, Rabbi. Thank you so very much. I really appreciate the way that you bring out the deep drama and the real morality of the Sedra. So thank you, and hope you're taking good care of yourself these days. Stay well.
Thank you. Be well.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.